Welcome to a new episode of People and Tech. In this episode, we're speaking to an amazing couple, a couple that makes change together, a couple that sees effects on organizations all over Asia Pacific, and a couple that has practically reinvented the idea of solid values will make sure that your organization moves in the right direction. Dr. Cherry Wu and Rob England are the founders of Teal Unicorn, and I'm sure those of us that are listening to our podcast have already heard about the ideas they are discussing before. We are obviously all coming from the point of view of extreme servant leadership, genuine fight against human debt / cultural debt, irrespective of what you want to call it. And we are all sharing the desiderata of organizations that will see value instead of resources, will see people and humans instead of numbers, will shackle themselves off from fear, and will learn to treat their people in a much more efficient and high-performing way by simply going back to humanity and solid values. This episode delves into their work in the region and discusses potential cultural differences, whilst also grabbing an absolute load of optimism from the words of the amazing Cherry and Rob, who emanate not only optimism towards the workplace, but an amazing joie de vivre and clear love for each other, which I'm sure inspires their clients. Enjoy this episode, and I'm hoping to speak to many more couples who, like us, work together to change the world in the future. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the People and Tech podcast. We have two very special guests here. We were going to hopefully poach them for yet another episode of Men into Tech, but for now, because this is a much more important update, we have the amazing Dr. Cherry. I'll start with the important one. And others the board sidekick helping have made immense differences in the world of organizational existence these days. So we want to hear what they've done. We know that they've made amazing strides in the region, and we gotta learn as fast as we can. And we talk on this podcast a lot about the fact that there's human debt, and I'll very soon change to another term because we have a topic formats that we always want to for it. But we sit here and we talk every few weeks about what is it that the world could do that we move faster, because our kids are in a hurry to have a better organizational society, and we're hoping to hear from you how the journey brought you here. So hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for gracing us. Shall we start with whatever you like? What is the first thing you would like to say other than an intro? I know everyone hates intros. So do you answer with an affirmation? Is that something that you believe in?
I think one that I was looking at today was that we use quite often is what got you here won't get you there.
And I believe that if we treat people like human, they will thrive. Don't just treat them like machine of human resource. They are people. Yeah.
Two excellent statements. One, can't be doing the same things again, and two, we are humans, aren't we? And if we just understood these two things, right? So what do we think is keeping organizations from getting these two very basic facts?
Is that it? Humans as resources.
Is it this view that they're holding? Cherry, do you think?
So organization normally they think that people are resources. We don't treat people as resources because what we do with the resources, we exploit it, right? We exploit resources and we try to squeeze every good thing from it, but we don't look after, and we don't care about their safety and their happiness. But if we actually do care about their safety, their happiness, and what they're willing to, or what is their best, and look after them, then everything will be fine. People are great. Yeah.
So we'll be fine, wouldn't we? The difficulty, though, is this term, right? That I call human debt, you guys call cultural debt. What had happened to organizations, let's be honest, is that they ended up in this state where haphazard state, and a state of almost accident that wasn't designed or wasn't well thought out. They are where they are. And whether or not they react to where they are is very much a question of what the strategy they more want, the intelligence.
And the drive that for us is to actually bump up the human world, up that company's listed priorities, and actually make them see that perhaps your biggest problem is not this revenue generator, but if you treat your staff like this, then that revenue will double.
It comes from the very top. It comes from the principles and values. The shareholder is still first in most commercial organizations, and in government, the minister is still first, not the employees and not even the customer. So it's moving them through that, shifting from value, money, to values, and it is gradually happening, but the majority of organizations are still well dug in to Friedmanism and profit and greed, and employees are well down the list of priorities and that sort of value framework.
Is there a section where I'm just thinking about, obviously, the rights of the shareholder are enshrined into law in certain jurisdictions, but at what point are the rights of the employee enshrined into law?
In what jurisdiction they are, but is that done in an elegant and logical way? Maybe not. Is that?
Well, it is a myth that shareholder value is legally enshrined. No, it's a myth in the UK and the US. It's a widely held myth, but there's a number of interesting legal articles about how, in fact, that it's not the constraint that people think it is. But obviously, the enshrining employee rights, we in social media we see the USA a lot, of course, and that's a great example of how you don't treat employees as the American approach to employees. Whereas you're in Europe, where protections for employees are much better, probably better than here in New Zealand. So there are legal frameworks both ways, and I think it's deeper though. I think it's sociological, and there is now a change in values. The young people are coming up, and they're not going to put up with this crap anymore.
Love that. Love that. You love that perspective. That's where it is. They were not.
And
they were not there.
We're lucky though. We filter our clients self-filter. They come to us, and so out of 100 million Vietnamese, we've found so far 20 clients. I mean, we're talking about a small minority who are amenable to these kind of conversations, aren't they, Cherry? They're not the typical Vietnamese CEO.
Yeah, no, they're all looking forward to build good companies where people are happy and not only happiness but also share the profit and benefit from organization, not just like them as a owner who get it all. So people who have the mindset of bringing better life for people who work for them, who often, almost all of our clients have that kind of mindset. So they came to us because of that reason.
And it's interesting that I'm not a religious person, neither of us are, but There is a significant number of Buddhists amongst the executives who come to us. I think it is a big enough percentage to be notable that the number of them are driven by that Buddhist ideology of wanting to be better
An
and do
amazing
better.
insight. That's an amazing insight, and perhaps we should dig into this a little bit. And it's thing of feel comfortable because neither of us are. I mean, some of us are a professor, but neither of us are quite there. But is it maybe that I have this continuous feeling, and it is because my life exploded and so on. But I do have, even before this happened, I have had this heaviness feeling that the world is closing in and the world is getting less good, and humans are less open-handed over the last 15, 20 years. I spent it that way. Maybe it's just my experience, but in organizations, this closing in feels more present by the year to me. Is this something you've felt?
I think that's very true. I mean, Cherry knows I'm quite pessimistic in the short term, but in the long term, I still believe humanity advances. We come, 2 steps forward and 1 back, 2 steps. If you look back 100 years, then you can have a more positive view of things than if you look back 10 or 20 years. And don't say that to the Vietnamese, because they're booming. They're having a great time at the moment. They're thriving, and so locally they're not feeling that yet. I do agree that things are getting a bit negative around the world, but I think that's a short-term thing. And I think longer term, if we can dig into these deeper values, not Buddhism, because we're not Buddhists, but we also talk about truth, beauty, and goodness, the transcendentals, and not being completely 100% focused on facts and data and logic at work, and reintroducing beauty and goodness as elements in the workplace along with truth. And so that's it comes out of Christianity if you go right back, but that's a non-religious model that we use to talk about having those 3 sets of values rather than the 1.
That's very courageous. Can you talk us through that when you first put together the model, right? I would suspect that coming up with even the vocabulary around something like truth and beauty in a business context has been difficult. Would you say that's fair? And how about it go?
We don't lead with it. It's
I
way
know
there.
you don't,
It's way there in the back.
Brilliant.
I mean, you talk, Cherry, about when you're talking to executives, you're talking about truth, beauty, and goodness, but you're talking in a very practical, pragmatic, advisory way rather than in a theoretical way, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's more related to the daily life. Like everyone, actually, no matter they are the owner, the boss, the manager, or the leader, or employees, we all have the same ideas of what good look like and what the environment of an organization that we want to have. Well, nobody have a different ideas. They all want the same thing, but it's just the way we organize a thing, we manage a thing around. It doesn't come to like everyone to come to the result that they all want.
Right.
So I talked about it. I said openly, ask, what do you really want? So everyone wants the same thing. They want the better life. They want better society. They want to be happy at work. They want to be the family as a good community who love each other and support each other. So
they want to succeed at work.
Yeah.
It's another big one.
So based on that, we say, okay, so if we cut all the crap, all right, we cut all the dirty thing, waste and craft, and we from now on we set the value and we follow. We set principle together, not top down, not bottom up, but all together. We open and we invite everyone to come and contribute, build, draw a picture, paint a picture that we all want, and then we agree together. Here's the picture we all want. Here's the way we go. here the value and here's the principles and who we do what. It's all together, not top down and not bottom up, and no cut all the crap. So that's how it works.
It's amazing. That is amazing. That is amazing from multiple point of view to me. I think first thought that you can reach people with such a humor message. I know how hard it is. I spend every day going like, come on now, we just need to do this humor more. It's not difficult. It's 5 things to learn about EQ, and then just having that continue.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of bosses around the world, this is nothing Vietnamese, a lot of bosses around the world, the only way they know to be a boss is to be an asshole, right? That they think that being a boss is about shouting and ordering and commanding and being tough and ruthless, and they have this alpha. Dana Ardi wrote a book in the 90s called The Fall of the Alphas, where she talked about alpha and beta management. Yeah. And so that alpha management, that's all they know. They're not even aware that a beta management is possible. They're not even, when Cherry says to them, you could just try being nice, they're like, oh, I can do that? Is that a thing? It's liberating for some of these people to be told that it's possible to be a nice boss.
Because all of these, there are schools of management around the world that are today telling them that top-down management and the way that the way that the fear and control is properly used for some organizations is the only way to do a good job as a manager. So of course,
and their MBAs tell them that. McKinsey tell them that.
Yes.
It's still the what is it? The generally accepted practice of management is that command and control management.
Exactly.
And they don't know. They just literally don't know the alternatives.
And they come into the workplace and they realize it does not work. And these are, like, you touched earlier on the newer generation. I really love that point. I think that's where the hope is, if I ever get excited like that about them, because I feel like there's a sense of self-respect boundaries that are coming with the new generation that will have to have us that don't want to jump and get to a better place. The values of sustainability, which are in a sense falling into the what do we do with our resources in general? Even if people are resources, is that how you treat your resources? Is that how you treat your water, your land, your animals? Can we all as humans do better, right? So that's the number one. But I think they come with that. They come with a consciousness of we can and should do better. And so in the workplace, they will expect the same thing. Obviously, the secret is going in and meeting the structures that are absolutely, it must be such a shock for most people coming into the workplace. They are so, at least in most places.
And you've got the changing values, and the other big thing you've got is the accelerating rate of change. And VUCA, the volatile, uncertain, complicated and ambiguous. The rate of change is intolerable. So, as I said at the start, what got you here won't get you there. When you said it doesn't work, most of the managers around the world will say, yes, it does. Look, I've got a functioning organization. My staff do what they're told. We make profit every year. Of course it works. And so in their mind, it works. But they're also noticing that things are not working quite as well as they used to. These young people won't be managed. Things keep changing. They can't get things settled. So it is actually starting to not work, but a lot of them are not realizing that. They're still saying, "I got me here. I did 30 years in this job. This is how I've done it. I know this works." So they're trapped in that old thinking, and they haven't yet realized that it's not working. So some of the people who come to us are ideologically driven. I want to be nicer. Others come to us and go, "Help! I'm in deep doo-doo here. I'm in trouble. It's not working." They finally realize it's not working.
And the technology is not working very very obviously. That's one of the reasons we chose psychological safety for technology teams, is because you cannot write software if you do not have psychological safety. It's just not possible. We can stop pretending you can. You can write very bad software that's going to bring in 20 seconds, or need to rewrite that with 20 seconds, but you cannot have a functional organization. So I think the reasons that I think in the technology sphere it's more evident is because the need for communication and collaboration between people who have had no need for that before is stringent, it's urgent, and it's really making people go, everything I learned doesn't work. What do I do now? You do something completely different. You teach these people to be humans, and then you together make it work.
Mm.
So it's a big ask.
Even broader than IT is at the center of something which is knowledge workers in general. So more and more people are knowledge workers. More and more work involves not being a machine, as Cherry said, but, you know, that machine work is fading, and more jobs that people do are in the service industries, they're in creative, they're in software, and they're knowledge workers. They have to be liberated, they have to be free, they have to be psychologically safe in order to function.
For some leaders who say, when we say what got you here won't get you there, then they say no, we still have money, we still get profit, and yeah, as Rob said, that people still do what they've been told. But then the question I often ask them, that is that really the result that you want to have? How about the culture? Are people happy? Are you happy? Then the answer is always no. So can we change our mindset and our way of managing to make people happy and produce more profit and share with them, make people's life better? And then most of them get kind of agree with that. And I think if we try to in the boss or in the owner's mindset, I think they stay more toward to the number, to the money. But then if we say, like, if we have the same people and they create more value, how about everyone's winning? Everyone's winning, right?
Because a lot of them are really frustrated at the lack of productivity of the people. They say bad things about their people. They are managing to make a profit, but their staff are useless and they're lazy and they don't work hard and they're disengaged, and you know, they blame the staff. It's never them, right? It's always the staff. And so you know, another conversation to have with them is, if they are still sort of stuck in this old ways of thinking, is saying, how about if we could unlock more productivity? You know, how about if we make you more money, boss? And that gets them initially interested, and then some of them turn off because it's all too hippie and lovey-dovey for them.
Isn't
But others, I've watched Cherry take them on the journey of self-transformation. We get this feedback from leaders. They say to Cherry, you've changed my personal life as well as my work life. You've made me a different human being. And they come on that journey.
This is all we work for. Having seen those developers cry when they get to the actual, oh my God, I am a human being and I can be employed with other people and I can have emotions and it's okay. Literally, we've seen in his team, developers breaking the ice and I do not think this is going to happen through my life. These are people who we have, because we work in the language, most of them are even more literate than many other places, because there is very little in terms of kind of, if you wish, ring fencing the sanity of people that have such emotional and informational overload. So the fact that we talk to all these people that are already super pro-informed, most of the developers we talk to are either going through autistic burnout they can't even understand, or family traumas that they can't talk to anyone. People we work with are normally the people that essentially have already very effective on this, and they don't even know what to ask for better. It's almost like a segment of self-work, like white collar slavery we have made in some enterprises. Like they just
Totally.
do it. Like horrible as it is, they go do it and they don't think about it. So yeah, we've seen people try when they realize their life can be different, it should be different. And I think this is what's amazing, right? And what's empowering is and hard at the same time. When we say to organizations is it's not just you as an organization, it's you as a human. It's all of everyone else's other individual responsibility as well. We all have to do our part. And people are tired, aren't they, of the work? They're not that excited. It takes a lot of work to get them to see why.
But the results are explosive. The results are explosively good. I mean, charity gets extraordinary results within months, usually, in terms of money and productivity and morale and engagement and efficiency, and just they just take off. It's like you open the gates and let the people out. It's extraordinary to watch.
Yeah, I think I appreciate the end result. I'm just curious to know that first step the C-suite has to make. Is it almost a matter of trust and a matter of faith we can do this? And for the next X many months, our changes are effectively going to be unmeasurable, unmetrifiable. But we'll be able to feel it somehow. We can feel that people are being happier. They're starting to make different progress.
Measurable. I disagree with you though. Really. I've worked my entire life to measure the crap of it. I can measure if the people are stressable, if they're happy, if they're resilient, if they're psychological. I can measure everything you like. But it's not about measuring it. It's about teaching them to make more of it.
I
Then
will be something on a piece of paper.
we
So,
start
here, that's Friday with it.
And as you know, because we've made this software for the last 50 years, even when you can measure it exactly from here to here, the fear is the same. The fear is broader light. What if it's going to look bad first and I'm going to lose my job? Is there still of this, the massive fear? Shall we talk about the massive fear, right? People on the inside have it, they got to keep the job. People on the outside have it, they want to make sure they don't wrap their boats. Is that fear everywhere now? I lost
I'm
Cherry because she's seeing it.
Yeah. I was going to say, Cherry,
Yeah.
Cherry, you tell us, especially those Apex execs, you spend hours on the phone to some of these people, nursing them through this fear, uncertainty.
Yeah, they do. They always afraid that the change we lose the control, and they want, people. If you give me people more freedom, then they will destroy everything. That's the fear that they often have. But again, it's. I always said I understand that, but look, you've been holding people for how many years, and now people are not. They just like they are in a cave, and everything you have to order them to do it, otherwise they don't. So you don't want that. So let's give them some freedom. Just start from the small. Just start from small. Give them freedom to decide on how they want to do, and what do they want to do first. Just tell them the outcome you want, or even discuss with them what is the right outcome or possible outcomes that we can all make. Don't just put the number and give them the number, and then they will be frustrated and they don't understand why they have to do that, and it's very unreasonable. So just bring everything open, bring every single thing on the table, and
with transparency.
all transparency. Discuss with them.
Full
what do
transparency.
yeah,
Generative organizations will always be transparent. I do not
yes,
Mm.
comprehend
yes,
why this is not number one rule in every organization ever.
And that is one of our first steps. Or, well, no, first step is Cherry gaining the trust of this Apex exec to try. And I love what you say, Cherry. You always say to me, you don't have to believe me. I want you to just try it.
yeah, they don't believe it, but they like the idea, and also they see normally because we have all of our clients didn't come from the sky, you know, they all been introduced by another clients,
Yeah,
so they
same here,
know that
same
it
here
works.
with our, yeah. So
Yeah,
they know from all
they
the different
know
resources
that
that
it
it
works.
works. Yeah, that works.
Yeah,
Mm.
and they like the results. But
Yeah.
then again, it's still even a very best friend of one my current clients is a very successful clients. They introduced to her best friend, but her best friend invited us to come, and then she's have a lot of resistance to change herself and a lot of things that it took really long time
Mm.
to
It's
get.
hard. It's a journey, right? For everyone. You're taking people
Yes,
on a personal journey so that they can be courageous and entrepreneurs enough to make some immense changes that are necessary for their enterprises. Of course, you're making a hard thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
And once we get that first commitment,
mm,
then to your point about transparency, a large part of the work that we do early on, as Cherry said, is to open everything, is to make the work visible, Kanban and that sort of thing, make the current work visible, to make the workflow visible, value stream maps and things, and visibility of process, open the books. So Cherry manages to persuade them fairly early on to open up financially to everybody to show what's happening, and opening up the teams to be capability and skills based, not roles based, and so have transparency about what everybody's capabilities are. And so once you know who can do what, who's doing what, how does it work, why are we doing it, just and the vision and the values, we use the term obeya for a big room, the bridge, the ship, big an obeya wall showing all the information from the vision down through the values to what the work is and how we're going to do it, what our priorities are, and where should we start. Just opening it all up and opening the people up with like Cherry said, invite everybody into the room. We do big room planning, right? Inspired by open space technology. We do big room events to open up the conversation and let everybody feel they're engaged. So that transparency, that visualization of work, that opening is really what starts it all and lights the fire. It's
Hey, but how do you feel? Is there a functional element in this? I'm just wondering. I mean, there's obviously so many Apex companies you're working with, and how can we translate this more, to the Americas, the Europeans areas? Is there such a big difference that, I mean, people, like, is there something about the Apex culture which aids this?
something about Vietnam or Asia Pacific or
Maybe, how would you say the difference is? Maybe it's best, maybe it's both. Or is it just Vietnam that you is the best place really from that point of view? Is that the general thing you find over tradition?
it's at the beginning. If we have a mandate and if we have a commitment from the top down, from the top, I would say that it's easier to start with Vietnamese because they are kind of obedient. They listen to the boss. But in the long run, I mean, it's easier at the beginning, but in the long run, I don't think it's easier because I can see a lot of like they tend to learn everything quickly, listening and do things, but they also not spending too much time to try to understand or or read more, or even try to discover more about the knowledge, what linked to what. And I mean, logically, maybe they're too busy to learn more, to go deep down to understand why they're doing that. Even though we try to explain everything we do, we always explain to them why we do that. But still, in order to go for the continuous improving, you have to learn, right, by yourself. No one can spoon feed you for whole life. So I think I feel like it's again, if the most successful organization that we have, it should be the organization that be able to turn themselves to be learning organization.
Okay,
Not
really
not such, I don't measure companies that we have by how much money more they earn. I measure them by how much they turn themselves to be continuous improvement and learning organization, because that would help for the very, very long run, not
That's
short
the
term.
sustainability of it all, is where we have turned people to understand that there is an engine within themselves they can engage so that they continuously do better.
Exactly.
I would say that, if every group of humans is on a bell curve, right, that there are cultural differences, but the bell curves still overlap. It's not like the Vietnamese are down here and Westerners are up here. There's a big overlap. They are still very similar people to everywhere else in the world. There's a few things, there's these things that sort of stand out when you're there, that you see the differences, but the bosses are still command and control bosses everywhere in the world, and egos are egos, and politics are politics, and passions are passions, and they still remind me of people in New Zealand and the US and Australia. Some of the dynamics we see are still the same dynamics. There are differences, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to make too much of them, I think is what I'm saying. Terry, would you agree? They're still
Yeah,
pretty similar.
when we have organization in New Zealand, I think the frustration that we got here is no different to Vietnamese culture. Nothing, really. Yeah,
People are
even though
humans.
even though if we talk about system and productivity, or in more advanced economies like New Zealand or Australia or US, it may be better. But when we talk about the cultures, we face the same problem everywhere.
Right. Well, I think you're probably exactly right. I mean, I have worked Bitcoin deck and HumanDebt is something like that for 15 years all over the world, and everyone asks me what is different, and I keep saying absolutely really nothing. When you strip it all down to it, all humans need to do the same 5 things to keep themselves, self-soothed and capable of social with others. When you strip it all down, you agree on language that makes the same thing to everyone, and you give people the time and the respect to actually get into a habit of self-improvement. Because the question is, how do you get that? So I think we see the same things across cultures. I don't know if that's necessarily.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you read that first video about one restaurant, everyone says, we're a generative culture. Show me how you're being a generative culture. You're not.
We are a learning organization. And a couple of times I've said to a client, you're not a learning organization, and they get really upset. Really upset. And even when you lay the evidence out, they're like, oh, I'm sure that, they do not want to hear.
Which is the hardest not to change, which is accepting the problem, accepting that it's question.
That is what let's face it, that's what we start struggling with, right? But just getting people to accept that is an issue. But I think things start, look, we shouldn't be, I shouldn't always be this now, right? When I started this forward journey of like, let me put all my life into fixing the universe, things were a lot worse. Let's be honest, right? So 20 years, things were a lot worse. We couldn't be having this conversation. We couldn't have said crap out loud. We couldn't have said that the execs are crap and they're joking. These days they gotta go out or get better. We couldn't have said these things at all. Well, we would never have caught another contract. So the fact that we have a feeling that we can be honest and there is transparency is, I think, a testament to all of our individual desperate works for the last 15 years. And if we're also going to be honest, the people who are listening to this don't need us to just be posturing, right? Let's be honest. There's almost like, to me, this in versus out situation that's happening. People that are within a job and they have been in a job for a long while. And then there are people who are attempting to bring in new things to help them make that job better. This is always. The problem is, I feel like that there's a bigger and bigger separation between the two. The positive is there's new, incredibly big things that have happened in the workplace. Let's be honest, right? One, people don't go into the office anymore like they used to. Let's be honest, that's a big one. Second big one is execs have accepted that they have to deal with their people and take care of them. That's not going to work otherwise. That's a big acceptance, whether it's, with all the candidates. And then maybe the other big change is we all as humans have went, oh, oops, we have to fix more things. We have a lot of things we have created. So I was more of this human back. We've had it everywhere. So with all this together, it's good that we've gotten what we've gotten, right? With COVID and what's in between.
I think we've learned a lot too, as you say, if you go back to 2000. We didn't know what complexity was. The whole field of complexity is something that only a few mathematicians and philosophers had any idea about. And so understanding that as a community and as an industry and as, so learning complexity, psychological safety. No one had heard of psychological safety or thinking about neurodiversity at work or, DEI, not to mention environmental sustainability and the planet's on fire and so on. So, things have come so far in terms of knowledge and awareness in the last 20 years. And so many managers are starting to realize that they look around and go, oh, wow, the ground is moving under me very quickly. They're not all completely stuck in the mud. A lot of them are like, I want to try and understand these things that are going on around me. And if we can just tap into that, and not get too frustrated by the other end of the bell curve a very quick example. We work with a bank and Cherry transforms whole divisions of the bank, unlocks millions of dollars. They make annual quota in a month or two. And, the staff are happy and they're all singing and it's just fantastic. But there's 100 and something divisions and there's a whole bunch of managers running divisions in that bank, mostly old men who are all going, it's not how you run a bank. I don't want a part of it. A lot of them have embraced it and jumped on, but there's still some holding out. And there's money on the table and they're still holding out.
Oh.
Just because, not having that. Isn't that right, Cherry?
I wish I could say that's shocking, Jay, but I did 16 years in fintech, and all I did was change CEOs of banks' minds and go like, but please, look at the thing, you cannot be it. And the reality of it is, that's why I fear HumanDebt, because I've seen it in big banks. I've seen it in 40, 50 big banks.
What I'm saying is we have to let that bottom third of the bell curve go, and not let them stress us. Cherry's really great at focusing on what she can change and what matters and just shutting out. If people don't want to play, they don't want to play. Okay, fine. Move on to the people who do want to engage and do want to be part of it.
You have to find the right battle to fight, right?
It's a very good point. Like we hand grab at the very massive problem, like we did, like just fix your organizations. That was wrong. So when we first started, you were mentioning, Rob, that nobody really knew what psychological safety was. I mean, obviously Amy Anderson from Operated that existed as a concept for so long. We just haven't done anything to do anything about it until both Amy and Booker came up with the Aristotle project. And even then, when we arrived there in 2018, and so there was obviously a conversation within our multiple circles that people don't understand this, but we have circles in common in agile communities, in organizational development communities. And that's one of the problems, I think, if you ask me. But that's a different conversation for another time. Because when we came to Psychology 360, the term existed. People kind of knew that it made a difference to money. But by the time that we managed to get people to go like, oh, wow, 40% more money is a lot better than not, it took years of awareness. And I think you're right, awareness on this, awareness on DEI, neurodiversity awareness, it's all coming to. Is it though, a fear though, sometimes is that we are in a crisis situation, not enough of us are doing the right things currently and in the right way. But hopefully, by people listening to your success and by people seeing this popcorn experiment we're doing so that we move people faster, ideally things are going to change and, we'll get there.
I think we're moving into more turbulent times, and we were having a personal conversation the other night, Trey and I, with someone about, in life, you go along on rails steadily, and then I don't have to tell you guys, you enter a period of massive turmoil, and everything's up for grabs then, and everything changes. And I would actually throw other things in the pot at the time, say, well, if all this has changed, let's change this as well. And then eventually you come out of that node of turmoil into another reasonably steady state. And I think the world does the same thing. And I think the world is working itself up for another big bang, personally. I think all hell's going to break loose, I'm afraid. But that will be a time of change, and we'll come out of that. And I hope, I believe, come out, not in the Stone Age, we'll come out for the better. We'll come out into a next renaissance of humanity. But it could be it could be an interesting ride for a few years, I think. We'll see.
I love that message. So I think we need to buckle down, do better, because unfortunately we're buckling down for a possibly bumpy ride for the next 3 years, all of us.
But that's an opportunity to change, even during that time. Right? People are desperate, people are unsettled, people are willing to change because they've been shocked out of their rut. And they are, willing to look at options.
You guys are the most optimistic two people I've ever met. How are you doing that while trying to fix organizations?
I don't know.
The
dedication.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys are an absolute inspiration. We do want to get you back one time so you explain to us maybe step by step kind of how your process works. But meanwhile, we'll put the links to your site underneath here so that people go find out how you do it. It's an amazing process, you guys. Please listen to. I've met two organizations that had met you guys before, and one of them was actually, I think we have applied in common for a very brief period of time. People who care about psychological safety, but. What I wanted to say is please go and look at their work, because if you start doing a serious amount of human work in the way that the things that described it, there is no way you cannot win. So thank you so much for coming over, you guys. And we'll make sure we get you back. We have a lot to learn from each other, and everyone listening to you has a lot to learn.
Yes, thanks very much. Amazing conversation.
Thank you so much for having us. Hopefully we will see you in person in Spain.
Yes, absolutely. Please come over. It's raining today, which is why we're in the studio, but it is an amazing place in general. We would love to.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank
be there.
you so much, you guys.
We'll be there. See you
Thank you.
again. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah.